Alright, so we're checking out your project here. You had mentioned you're having a couple problems with it, so we're just going to check it out real quick and see if we can't fix it up. So first thing, I always do is just to go ahead and start debugging the project and see what comes up. Alright, so we've got our cool little game screen. We're ready to start. We'll go ahead and start the game. And as soon as I try to do that, I get this error right here. Okay. So it's saying argument null exception was unhandled, which is a little confusing in the way it's worded. It's also giving you some tips here, saying use the new keyword to create an object instance. So, what this is suggesting to me is by saying use the new keyword to create an object instance, it's saying that something about this particular item didn't quite get initialized in the beginning or loaded, alright? So, it's not quite sure what this object is, or something about this object is kind of missing, alright? And so what we have here is we're actually in our draw method right now, alright? And so on this line, it's telling you to go ahead and draw the sprite bottle, and it's saying, draw this texture, the sprite texture here, and draw it in this position, okay, and then color is white. So what's likely to have happened here is that either we don't have a value in our game loaded for a texture for this bottle, okay, or we don't have a position loaded for this bottle, alright? And so let's go ahead and take a look just right at the beginning and see what we have going on defining this kind of bottle item. I'm going to go ahead and get out of debugging mode here so we can see a little better what's going on. Alright, so right away we have this texture 2D image bottle. That looks good, everything looks normal there, right? We'll just go down a little bit. We've got our game sprite bottle, so we did actually create this sprite bottle item, right? So that looks fine. And then a little later here, we're in our initialize method. Now, right off the bat, the first thing that I notice here is that we have all of these images that we're loading to some of our 2D textures that we created up here, okay? Anytime that you see content.load, alright, we're loading something, from a file over here to one of our items, okay? So basically, anytime that we're loading content, that belongs actually in the load content section of your code, alright? So here we're in the initialize method, and you'll notice if you just go right under the initialize method, we have the load content method, alright? And that's where any content that we're loading should live. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that, and I'm going to bring it down, okay, to our load content method. We'll just set it right there, okay, because that's where we want it. So we'll come back up to where we were and take a look and see what else, alright? So we've got our sprite bottle, and we made sure that we declared it as a new game sprite. We have our game sprite class over here, which we can open up anytime and double check. We've also given it some values for position, alright? So at this point, we know that our game sprite at least has a position, so the problem that we're experiencing probably doesn't lie with the position. It probably has something to do with the texture, which was the other factor that we were looking at, right? So, so it may be that it does not have an assigned texture, Alright, and that would be something that generally we would find in the load content method, where we would tell that variable, hey, you know, this is the texture you have, and we'd load it up. Alright? So here we go, we've got other things that we've loaded that we have moved now. We've got that cheeseburger, the start screen, the end screen. Now, just beneath this, we have this little phrase here that's saying, I want the sprite texture. I want the texture that's assigned to this sprite bottle to be this image bottle texture, okay? And, you know, that's fine, but right underneath we've got this image bottle is this texture right here. You'll look in the images folder and grab that bottle texture. So basically it's saying right down here, go grab that bottle texture and load it to this variable called image bottle. Alright? And right above it, it is saying the texture that I want for my bottle sprite is that image bottle texture that we have loaded, okay? Now, the problem that's occurring here is just a simple problem of the organization and the order in which these two pieces of code are in, alright? So, basically, it's looking for this image bottle and what that image bottle is and what it has assigned to it. But as the code is running, it runs in kind of exactly in order fashion. So it'll run this line of code first, and this line of code next, and this line of code, and this line of code, and this line of code. And anything that comes after the lines of code that we are currently running really just doesn't even exist yet, because the program has not even looked that far. Alright, the only time when code will kind of jump to a different section is when we're calling a method. So otherwise it's just going to run one line at a time, and everything that is beneath a particular line really, doesn't even exist in a way. It hasn't been looked at, and the program has not yet taken it into account. So what's happening here is that the program is searching for this image bottle to assign it as a texture to our sprite bottle. But because the image bottle line saying, hey, go get this .png file and assign it here, is beneath the line where we are actually assigning image bottle to our sprite bottle texture, it cannot actually find this image and assign it. It doesn't know what to do at this point, because this is something that hasn't actually been assigned a texture yet. So that's kind of where the hang-up is happening. If we instead take this line of code, and actually we got this projectile one right underneath it. Let's just go ahead and grab those both, since they're both kind of underneath there. And we just go ahead and move it up a little bit. Alright? Now what's going to happen is that we're going to assign that bottle texture to this variable right here. And it's going to, continue on, and then right here, when it's looking for that image bottle texture, it already recognizes it because we've already dealt with it up here and assigned it. Okay, so now that we're down here, everything should be a-okay. So let's go ahead and try that. We'll just go ahead and run this. Press the space bar. All right. So what we see now is the bottle, is no longer causing the game to sort of malfunction. But if I input to move the bottle left to right, you may notice that absolutely nothing is happening. Also, if I use the right trigger on my control pad, no little Pepto-Bismol tablets are firing, and also our burgers are not moving. So there's still quite a few problems here. So we'll take a look at that. Let's start with correcting this little bottle right here and making it move again as it should. All right, because this is actually something that I talked about briefly in an earlier project, but that was just quite recent, so you probably haven't even had a chance to look at it yet. So anytime that we see our bottle is not moving, we can automatically kind of start looking in the method that should cause the bottle to move, right? Which is our move user controlled sprites method, right? So basically we created that entire method so that when I press buttons, then the bottle or our user controlled sprite should move. So we'll just go down there. And this is a good place to start the search, in that case with a user-controlled sprite, and it should be moving, and it's not. So here we go. So let's take a look at what we have here. We have something saying, hey, if the left key is pressed down, go ahead and move the sprite bottle. All right, it says change the position to 3 less than it was before. Alright, that sounds good. Everything seems normal there. Next thing says if I push down the right button, I'll make the position 3 more than it was before. Okay, good. And the next one is saying if the sprite position, or sorry, not if. Alright, this one is just saying the sprite position, our new sprite position, a plus equals, okay, means it is now adding to that position the thumbstick value, the right thumbstick value times 5, okay, which gives us kind of our thumbstick movement in both negative and positive directions, alright? So that one's a little less work than these, for example. So that all looks normal too, alright? And so next we've got if the sprite bottle position is less than 0, then the position equals 0. So if it ever passes that 0 point, it just reverts back to 0, which basically causes it to stop at the edge of the screen, alright? Or at one edge of the screen. And then we have one for the other edge of the screen, okay, which is the furthest over here to the right at the end of the screen, alright? And so this one is saying if the value of the width of the screen, alright, this last value over here, if we come all the way to the right, is less than the position equals the dimensions. So you might notice right away that doesn't really seem to make sense, because if you kind of replace these with numbers, that's a good way to just kind of imagine things. Let's say it said something like 5 is less than 9 equals 10. So right away, if you look at that, 5 is less than 9 equals 10. It just doesn't really make sense. So what should be happening there is we want to say, for example, if 5 is less than 9 plus 10, or whatever those values happen to be. If 5 is less than those values, then that kind of makes a little more sense, right, mathematically, than 5 is less than 9 equals 10, which doesn't. So it's a good exercise sometimes to just try and replace things with numbers, okay? Just to try and understand where problems might be occurring, or where some mathematical or logic errors might be happening. So when we replace that with plus, we now have it saying, if the edge of the screen is less than the position plus the dimensions of our bottle, then go ahead and change the position to just the edge of the screen there, minus the dimensions. Alright, so now what we'll have, instead of changing sprite position all the time to the same value as the dimensions, which is what was happening, it should run properly. So let's go ahead and try that out. Yay! Alright, so now we have a little Pepto-Bismol bottle that moves, alright? Which is good. That's just what we want. And it looks like actually the whole right trigger thing that I mentioned earlier is actually fine. Just realized my little controller is not behaving properly at the moment, so that actually is all fine, so don't worry about the right trigger. It's looking good. So the last problem that we're experiencing is that we've got our little Pepto-Bismol, we've got tablets. It's great, but our burgers are just kind of wobbling, and they're not actually moving anywhere. They're trying to move, but they're not, and they just keep getting set back to the top of the screen. So because they're twitching like this, we can assume that there is code in place that moves these burgers, right? Because they are moving, but it seems like every time the game runs, they're placed back at their starting position, alright? So anytime that we have something that deals with the game doing something constantly over and over again, we know that we're dealing with something that is happening in our update method, alright? Because in our update method, that's kind of where everything is constantly running over and over and over again. Every game cycle, the update method will run again, all the code in the whole update method, alright? So let's take a look and see what we can see. So, we've got our little counter adding, alright, and then we've got our remainder just to kind of keep track of our game cycles and fun stuff like that. So, that looks fine. The next thing that's running is get user input, alright? And probably the problem is not here, because our burgers should be running regardless of whether the user is inputting anything or not. And we know so far that our user input seems to be working fine, because we're able to, navigate out of the start screen, and we're able to shoot projectiles. So that's probably not the problem, so we'll move to the next line. Change game state, alright? So let's take a look at change game state. It's possible that we do actually have some code in place that resets the burgers when the game starts over, right? So, maybe there's something going on there where we're changing our game state. So let's head on down there. Here we go, change game state. And, oh, here's get user input right in front of it. So we can double check that real quick too while we're at it. So, here's our key state, here's our pad, everything looks normal here. Nothing too weird going on. So it's not that. Alright. Here's our change game state. So let's see, it's saying if our game state is 5 and somebody presses the B button, then the int game state is now 10. All right, and then it says place burgers, and that is completely outside of this if statement. So basically, you know, you can imagine this being on the same level as the if statement. It would be the same thing as if we said change game state. First thing you do every time right out the gate is place those burgers. All right. So obviously that's a bit of a problem, because if we are placing burgers every time that we run change game state, all right, then, and we're changing game state every time the game updates, which is every game cycle, then that means we're placing our burgers every game cycle. And you probably, you know, after coding that, I'm sure you are aware that placing the burgers means that we're placing them back at the top of the screen. So here is your problem. So what we really want to do is we want to make sure that we're only placing the burgers when the game is restarted. Alright? We only want that to run when we restart the game. So we'll just need to make sure that we place that in the proper state, okay? So what we're going to do is we're actually going to start placing our burgers every time the game restarts, alright? As soon as the game changes from the start screen to the gameplay screen, that's when our burgers are going to be placed, alright? So 5 in this case is our start screen, and 10 is our gameplay screen. So we're saying, hey, you know, as soon as you press that B button and you're on the start screen, go ahead and start the game. And we also want to make sure that it also places those burgers, right? Place burgers, just like that. And don't forget when you do this, all right, that there's also another condition right underneath here that changes the game state from the start screen to the gameplay state. All right, it's right here. So this one is also saying change from start screen to gameplay. This one is just specifying if I press the space button, and this one is saying if I press the B button, do these things. All right. So let's try that, and let's see how that goes. So, all right, my burgers are moving now. I got a little bit of a lag on this virtual computer I'm using here for Windows. All right, so that all looks good, except for I've attacked all the burgers, and I haven't won the game, so this is no bueno. We'll have to fix that. And while we're at that, let's go ahead and test our lose as well, alright? I'm going to go ahead and lose the game. And we'll see if our lose screen comes up. Pretty exciting. Alright, so we definitely have our lose screen. It is awesome and funny, so good job on that, for sure. So we're able to lose the game, but we don't seem able to win the game, alright? And it also appears that our burgers have not regenerated after we lost and restarted the game, okay? So we'll try that again. Yep, nope. Now we're only left with the burgers that we didn't shoot before. And then again, we just click on that guy. Nothing happens. Alright. So, we're having some more issues with our burgers. The first thing that I would probably look at in this situation would be our win screen. Alright. So let's get that up and running first before we tackle those burgers. Alright. So let's take a look at our win test, alright? In our update method, we know that we're running this test to see if we won the game, okay? So let's take a look and see what that says. Did we win the game? Here we go. Alright, win test. Right here. It's saying burger count equals 0. Okay? And then it's saying if the game state is not 86, which I believe is our lose state, right? If our game state is not lose, for each burger sprite, burger in burger sprite, make the burger active. Oh, sorry, if the burger is active, add to the burger count. Add 1 to the burger count, okay? Then it's saying if the burger count is 0, head to our win game, okay? It's 99. So this is basically telling us as soon as we run out of burgers, go ahead and head to game state 99. All right. So let's take a look and see what kind of stuff we have going on in game state 99. All right. So I'm going to start out up in our update method because I know we have a switch there. All right. For game states. Ooh, right here. Switch int game state, and we're looking for 99. So we have 5, 86, and default. So there is nothing written here as instructions for what we should do in game state 99. So let's go ahead and add that at least, right? And not much is going to be happening in the update method for game state 99. It's going to look a lot like your win screen, okay? Or sorry, your lose screen. Your win screen and lose screen are going to behave very similarly. So, you know, let's see where else we have switches going on. All right, so right here in draw, we also have this switch going on. So we've got case 5, case 86, and default. All right, so again, we don't have anything happening for case 99. So this is our draw method where we're telling the program, hey, you know, when I lose the game, I want you to go ahead and display this lose screen that I made, right? So, of course, when we have our win conditions met, we want the game to then draw our win screen. So let's go ahead and add that in. Great. And I believe you've named it. Oh, alright. So we don't even have a win screen yet. So that's gonna, of course, affect our ability to go ahead and create that just at the moment without a win screen. So, you know what I'm going to do here for now, just for demonstration, and you can, of course, go back in and create a win screen for this purpose. I'm just going to grab our lose screen, alright, and I'm just going to, for now, tell the game to go ahead and try drawing the lose screen when I win, alright, and we'll just see if it draws at all. So I'll go ahead and play it, and it says, no, I don't like that. Alright, so I have clearly made a typo, and what that is I have forgotten to put break after our lose screen here, or win screen, however you want to put it, okay? So yeah, you know, I make typos too. Alright, so let's play that. And we'll go ahead and shoot all our burgers. And we have our lose screen, which Of course, you will want to replace with a winning screen. So we know that when we're getting rid of all our burgers, at least we have that screen coming up. Okay. Now, one thing that I noticed while I was on the win screen there was that I wasn't able to go back to my start screen from there. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and let's see. Get rid of that little box so we can see a little better. So let's take a look at where we have instructions for our win screen to go ahead and head back to our start screen, alright? So it should be right in here where we're changing our game state, right? Change game state. And we know our win screen is 99, right? So it's, probably going to have something to do with right here. We're saying if the game state is 99 and I press the B button, then go ahead and make the game state be 5. And it's also saying if the game state is 99 and I press the space bar, go ahead and make it the start, which is the start screen. This one, may not be quite as apparent at first glance, but what jumps out to me is the fact that we have our code in place for the win screen to move back to the start screen when I press the space bar, right? So it doesn't seem to be a problem with that so much. What the problem may be is that I am in a constant state of winning, alright? The game is always checking every game cycle to see if I have won the game. And so the reason that I'm seeing the win screen and I'm unable to get out of the win screen is that I may still in fact be meeting the conditions that we've set out that cause me to win the game. Alright? So if we take a closer look at our win test, we can kind of see what's going on here. And so basically saying, anytime, as long as I'm not on the losing screen, alright, which I'm not when I'm on the win screen, for each burger, check to see if the burger is active, alright? And if the burger is active, go ahead and bring up your burger count, okay? Then we also have code in place elsewhere that where our collision test is, that is telling the code, hey, every time that the tablet hits the burger, that burger is no longer active. And then next we've got, if at any time our burger count is 0, meaning that we have no active burgers, okay, then the game state will be win, alright? So up in our collision test, we're subtracting from this burger count number and we are deactivating burgers, alright? And once we have hit every burger, we have deactivated all the burgers, and we have set this, we have subtracted this burger count all the way to 0, and then we win, right? Now, when we start the game over, we would then have to reactivate those burgers, because if they stay deactivated, here's what's going to happen. It's going to come here, and it's going to say, for each burger, if the burger is active, well, we have no active burgers, so we'll just skip this whole thing, and our burger count is still 0, because we never added anything to our burger count right here, because none of our burgers were active, okay? So, basically, the first time we play it, all our burgers are active, because when we first begin the game, we have them all set to active, and as I'm shooting them, I'm deactivating each and every one of these burgers. Now, I have no code in place that reactivates those burgers, so they continue to be deactivated, And as you can see, when they are deactivated, my burger count will always be 0, and I will always be winning. I always win. I'm in a constant, never-ending winning state. So, of course, what we have to do to remedy this is to simply, at the end of the game, tell the program to reactivate those burgers so that I can start over. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. A good place for that would be when we reset the position of the burgers. Okay? So right here in place burgers, this is where we reset the positions of all the burgers, right? As soon as we finish the game, or actually, really, it happens as soon as we start a new game, then it places all the burgers. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that in there. So just right here is probably fine. Actually, we'll add this at the bottom. Okay, after we place all our burger positions, we're gonna just say, hey, for each burger, all right. So we'll have to go burger, Sprite, right? Sprite, burger in our burger Sprite array. Be careful that you're getting your capitalization and everything correct here. Then go ahead and go burger dot bool active. So we're saying set the state of the burger to true. So saying that reactivate the burger. Set that active status to true. Okay, the burger is now active, and make sure you close that off with a curly brace there. Okay. So now we're saying every time that we replace all these burgers, go ahead and reactivate the burger. So let's go ahead and try that. Now you might notice that it's still not doing what we want it to do, and that's because our place burgers method isn't actually set to run until we begin the game, okay? And we're unable to begin the game at this point because we're still stuck on that win screen. So we need that to happen, ideally, like while we're on the win screen and while we're on the lose screen in case we lose. So let's go ahead and get rid of this guy right here, alright? In the change game state, this is where we're saying, hey, when we restart the game, place the burgers. We don't want it to happen when we restart the game. Now we want it to happen as soon as the game ends, okay? Which is going to be our game state 86, alright, where we have lost the game. We want to reset those burgers. And we're in 99 right here where we have won the game. We still want to reset our burgers so that we can play again, okay? So let's go ahead and try that. And we'll see what happens now. Pew pew. Alright. So as you can see now, we can navigate from that win screen to the next screen here. And all our burgers have been placed back at the top of the screen, and everything's looking good. So let's go ahead and make sure our lose screen works as well. Okay, so we lost the game. And everything's working fine. Of course, you know, right now our win screen, you know, looks the same as our lose screen because we don't have a win screen yet. But as I said, just make sure that you go in and add that functionality and add the windscreen in there. So let me know if you have any questions about any of this. I'd be happy to help you out or explain anything that needs explaining. Other than that, you can resubmit this for full points if you'd like anytime before the end of the semester. It's coming up pretty soon here, so you'll want to hurry on that, but I think you'll be alright with the information provided today. So that's all I've got for you today, and happy coding!